Today we are going to look at the TouchType Pro, TouchType Pro, iPad Pro keyboard case for my 12.9-inch iPad. Now that actually necessitates two reviews. One of them is for the case itself, right? The actual case of the whole thing sitting in. And the second one is for the Apple Magic Keyboard, because to use the TouchType Pro well, or to use the TouchType Pro at all, you have to use the Apple Magic Keyboard because that's the keyboard the tray is designed to hold. Let's dig in. Now, I grabbed the TouchType Pro off an Indiegogo campaign. Right, Indiegogo? Yeah, I think I missed the Kickstarter and I grabbed Indiegogo. What intrigued me about this case was that it has really, three modes. You can use it with or without the pencil. It actually holds the pencil, keeps the pencil stored. You can use it with or without the keyboard. And then you can, so that's three, right? You have it like art style, you can use it with your keyboard, or you can just take the iPad with you and don't have the keyboard and don't take the pencil. And the case handles all three of those situations well. Both of the other keyboard cases that I reviewed, the Bridge and the Logitech Slim Folio, both of them, they're a keyboard case. You have the keyboard on, you have the keyboard off, that's it. There is no in between, right? The Bridge does have what it calls a secondary mode where you can pull the iPad out, flip it around and have like a viewing screen mode. But the reality is that mode is terrible. I've never used it. I don't know why it's even there. Like if you could 360 degree the hinge and crank it right around, useful, but it's just too much of a pain in the butt to pull the iPad out, flip it around. Not to say the Bridge keyboard is bad, I still find myself reaching for that one, but the TouchType Pro doesn't have that. If you don't want the keyboard, you just pop the keyboard off. If you don't want the Apple Pencil, you just take it out and put it away, and the case handles all three of those, iPad only, iPad with the pencil, or iPad with keyboard, handles them all just fine. And really these lack of modes is what frustrated me about the Bridge keyboard, so I returned the Logitech one. But the Bridge keyboard, I continued to find myself not having the Apple Pencil with me because it didn't have a way to hold it, right? It just sat right here on top of my device. And when I didn't want that, when I didn't want it with me, or when I wanted it with me, when I wanted to put it in my bag, I had to take the Apple Pencil off, stick it in my bag too. I'd either forget it on my desk or I'd just leave it in my bag and wouldn't use it. So it wasn't great. Now I do still find that the Bridge keyboard is the best. I go out one of these days this week. I'm gonna be out all day, 8 a.m. till 9, 10 p.m. with my iPad, and I will take the Bridge keyboard because it's just better for a full remote day working and when I'm not sure what type of surface I'll be working on for the day. Now, like I said, no matter how I want to use the TouchType Pro, it has full protection. It's a folio style case, so that means that when I am not using the iPad, it is totally covered. It's totally wrapped in something so that I don't have to worry about really dropping it at all because it's inside a complete case. It has plastic on the edges, and then it has, fabric around the whole entire outside of it. And again, when I don't want the keyboard, all I have to do is pull it off. That was what really drew me to this case, the multiple modes of working and how, and it's really proven itself in so many ways. The TouchType Pro is my favorite case for working around the house when I want to be working at my desk for the day. Then I'm going to take it up and I'm going to maybe watch something later. I'm going to work on the island we have upstairs or on the kitchen table or anything like that. I love this case. It is the case I instantly reach for, but that doesn't mean there aren't some problems with it. And one of the first ones is actually manufacturing. There's a few things. The original design of the case, I found that the lock button is hard to press. Now, that also meant that when it broke, there's a little bar kind of covering the lock button, but when it broke, I was like, oh, great, it just broke and not a big deal. It's easier to access the lock button now. I don't have to push really hard to make it work. And then more parts of the case started breaking. And I reached out to the TouchType Pro people and they said, hey, we're having some manufacturing issues. So it seems like there's a few things that have gone with this. One of them is that maybe the plastic hasn't set long enough. And another one is that the soft felt backing that's on the inside of the plastic chunk of the case overlaps with the plastic ridge and thus making the case just a little bit thicker and then putting too much stress on the plastic. So that's one thing. I've had a couple cracks in the edges of the case. I still love it. It's still functional, holds the iPad fairly securely, although I'm a little more careful with it than I would have been without the cracks. But that is an issue with the case. Another thing you're going to judge the case by is just going to have to be the keyboard that goes with it. And one of the things that bothered me is that the Apple Magic Keyboard doesn't have lock button, just a dedicated lock key. So you have to use Control Command Q, which works most of the time, but not every time. So we'll talk more about the keyboard in a little bit. As I use the keyboard, I found a few times that the keyboard actually pops out of its tray for some reason. I don't know what the reason is. Again, manufacturing issue. It sounds like I don't have quite enough of a lip on the keyboard, or it didn't cure enough, something like that. But in the video that I'm going to show you, kind of going over top of this right now from them, you can see they put the keyboard in and they like shake it with vigor. And there's no way I could do that with mine. It would just pop out like immediately. If I flip it over and like it just falls out. So we don't do that. But again, that's a manufacturing issue that they're hoping to clear up in the version 2. Possibly my final issue with the possibly manufacturing, possibly even just design, is the magnets that hold the keyboard to the bottom of the tray. Not to the tray, to the rest of the case, the keyboard tray to the rest of the case. I'd love them to be just a little bit stronger. What I found is that occasions I'm trying to put my iPad away, the magnets will pop off, and then add to that the keyboard coming out sometimes. And if I use it for a week, you know, there's probably 2, 3, 4 times in the week where I'm like, I gotta like take the keyboard back apart and put it all back together and then put it all away and then put it in my bag. It's not a deal breaker, but it's certainly frustrating. It takes some of the excellent parts of the case where it really is awesome and helps you, is just like really good and very versatile, and it kind of wrecks them because it's not good and it's not versatile. In that case, it's a pain in the ass. Only one final annoyance with this is that I really find I have to leave the keyboard on if I'm going to prop up the iPad in viewing mode. There's just not enough friction or enough magnet in the bottom of the case against the soft felt of the folio, and the iPad will slide. If I bump the eye on the iPad, it just slides out and hits the ground, and then that's it. I'm not looking at it, and if I have dirty hands from cooking or something, I can't pick up the case, or don't want to. I have to clean my hands, then do it. So leaving the keyboard attached behind is excellent. That also means I can't just pick it up and without worrying about it if I need to move it to a new surface. I've got to make sure I pick it up with 2 hands to make sure I grab the keyboard at the same time. How does the TouchType Pro work on your lap? Pretty good. It's not terrible. It's much like any folio case. It is as sturdy as the Logitech one I reviewed a while ago. It is fine in that respect, so I'll take it. It is not as nice as the Bridge. If you do a lot of working on your lap, the Bridge case is the best case by far for your iPad. We're gonna look at the keyboard too, because the TouchType Pro requires that you use the Apple Magic Keyboard, and that means you're gonna have to judge the case with the keyboard. And it's an okay keyboard. That's all I got. It's okay. It misses some of the dedicated function keys that you'll see on other things, like the dedicated Siri key or the dedicated lock key. They just don't have it. And so that's something when I look at the Bridge, I'm like, oh, I love the Siri key. I love the dedicated lock key. And as I said already, the Control Command Q doesn't always work to lock the iPad. Works sometimes, other times just doesn't work, so you gotta luck. Now, as far as travel goes, key feel, it's okay. It seems to be better than the laptops that Apple's manufacturing right now, but it's nowhere near as nice as the Bridge. I'm not even sure, I don't remember well enough to say that it's nicer than the Logitech. It's on par with what the Logitech provided. Maybe a little worse, it doesn't have enough travel. Now, partially that could be the aluminum frame, just more stiffness, but again, it's okay. And it's nowhere near any type of mechanical keyboard. I type regularly on a Kinesis Freestyle Solo Blue, or the wired version I'm using right now. It's just, those are far superior. They feel way, way better than the Apple Magic Keyboard does. Final knock against the keyboard, those stupid half-height arrow keys, they're terrible. I don't even know, they're stupid. So many more errors, so much harder to find. Yeah, half-height arrow keys, terrible. Now, your final verdict on the TouchType Pro. It's a really good case. I love it. It's the one that I want to use. It's the one I have my iPad mostly in as I'm working around the house, as I'm working in my office, and then I'm taking it upstairs to eat or to do some dishes or to do whatever, to cook. It is the case that I use. But then there's the manufacturing issues. Like I said, they've offered me refunds. They have done a bunch of stuff. I should be getting a version 2 of this with hopefully the manufacturing issues fixed, but I just can't recommend that you buy version 1. The manufacturing issues, I don't know, maybe you'll get a great one, maybe you won't. That's where we're at. And so they've offered me a refund. They've offered me to trade into a new case. And that was their first offer. And they said, you know what, we can't guarantee that any of these cases are good without testing them manually. How about just a refund, which you can use for any other case or a new one when we have version 2? And I said, whatever. I'm getting value out of this, so I'll keep using it and you keep the money. So they said, hey, that's very nice. Maybe we'll send you a prototype of the new one. So I'm looking forward to getting that at some point. I have no ETA on it. And when they have those manufacturing issues worked out, I want to be able to tell you that it's a great case and that you can buy it because manufacturing is fixed. Until that point, I would say hold off. Don't get the TouchType Pro until it's in a V2, until they have the manufacturing issues worked out. If we ignored the manufacturing issues, it's a stellar case. I love it. I love the idea. I love the design. I can live with the Apple Magic Keyboard. It's super versatile. It is the case that I want to leave my iPad in unless I'm going to be out and about for the entire day and I'm not sure about my work surfaces, in which case I would go for the Bridge keyboard. If you're working at a conference, you need to be on your lap. The Bridge keyboard is more rigid. It will be a better lap experience. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any other keyboards, cases, how to do stuff on your iPad that you want me to talk about in the comments. If you have any questions about the TouchType Pro keyboard, let me know in the comments. Ciao. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, you can make sure you don't miss any by subscribing below. Make sure you hit that little bell icon so you get notifications if you like notifications. Although I gotta be honest, I hate them. If you'd like to support the channel, like to make sure that the videos keep coming, that the content keeps coming, you can support me on patreon.com/Curtis McHale. Have an awesome day.